Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Last Epoch dev stream. As always, I'm your host, Mike. Hello. How's it going, everybody? We're gonna keep playing some Last Epoch and having some fun, answering some questions. So if you're here for that, you're in the right place. If this is your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you with us. If you have any questions for me, please put an @LastEpochGame in front of the question, and I'll be happy to answer it. All of our streaming is for charity, and this month's charity, today's the last day for it, is Pause with a Cause, where they teach puppies to be guide dogs and of various capacities specific to certain people. I think it's pretty cool. Let's go to this one. Hey Aaron, how's it going? Right from the start today? Don't usually see you this early. I'm still playing my Bone Mage build. I've got another build like 90% ready to go, and I just like didn't quite get it ready. So we're doing it next week. Sorry. I'm having a ton of fun with this one, so it's okay. Thank you very much to Hario, who's resub for 16 months in a row. That's pretty epic. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you with us. All right. Do you have some corruption? Let's start out with a Shade of Orbis kill, right off the bat. First thing. What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get?
An eternity of pain.
Blood shade.
Nothing will remain. Flesh is temporary.
Ooh. Spicy.
Nothing will remain.
Come on, guys, leave me alone. Right, you go through them and then they trigger. I remember how these work, don't worry. Can I trigger them off that? Nope, just me. Ooh.
Nothing will remain.
That was pretty easy. Another ring, unless it's high LP, we do not need it.
All the same.
Works for me though. Oh, build that I'm working on for next week is I'm gonna do a Holy Trail Javelin Sentinel Paladin. And you picked the right day to come live though. I got some stuff to share today. Yeah. So much so that we're gonna do an early one. And there might be a theme. Yeah, how's everybody's week's been going? I know this is probably gonna be a pretty light one today anyways, because we're still early days of a PoE League, which is totally fine. So you just get to hear me ramble and shit chat a whole bunch. What's going on with me? I'm going to play Magic tonight. Ooh, excited. Yes. Haven't done that in 3 weeks now. Maybe a month even. Got a new black, red, blue vampire deck that I'm working on. It's not very good, but it's fun. This build's so smooth. This build's so smooth. I was considering setting up a like a Dragon Song, Cinder Strike, like decoy bomber. I don't know what the build's actually called these days. Type build for this week. And I actually have that one set up, but it was just so similar to this, and it honestly didn't play quite as much as I liked. Like this one, I liked the way it played more, so I just canned that and tried to quickly make the Javelin Trail, and it was didn't quite get finished. Doing all these builds for the streams has made me want to improve our like dev mode tools, because I still have to like drop a bunch of items to find the thing I want. Like, yeah, the gear that I have for these is not like just me picking stats and creating them. It's like I'm still going through the process of dropping gear and crafting on it and everything. The Path is reset for 5 months in a row. Hello from Sweden, Karlstad. Hello. I don't know if you watch. Weird thing. Last week or the week before, there was the World Junior Hockey Championships. Sweden had a pretty good showing. As usual, they did way better in the round robin than in the tournament play at the end. I don't know what it is. Their round robin play, Sweden's round robin play in the World Junior Hockey Championships is insane. They're like 52-3 or 52-2 or something like that. 52 wins and 2 losses, something ridiculous like that in the last however many years it's been. And like there's only like 2 titles to speak of in that range, like two wins or 1 win or something. It's I don't know what it is, but in the round robin play they just crush everyone. I like weird statistics like that, so. They had a really good game against Finland. I mean, Sweden-Finland's always a great game. And usually this tournament happens in between Christmas and New Year's, and so it was a real treat getting into the summer. Got yeah, Hummingbee. I just have found an LP Hummingbee already today. Okay, I'm going to, as soon as this one's done, I'm going to share a little clip.
Not now.
Let's rush through it. Let's go. Oh, right. Looks like there was a little confusion on how to actually make a legendary work in the end of the dungeon. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, you have to actually do a time travel event. It kind of hints at it. It tries to tell you sneaky, where it says like go back in time to do it, and the ability you have in the dungeon is traveling through time. It's sort of like the dungeon teaches you what you need to do at the end, or tries to anyways. Might need to be more explicit, because we do see that question come up every once in a while. But here, okay, let's start off with a classic. Here is a little peek at an old ability that has been revamped to look pretty nice. So the visuals, specifically looking at the actual totem itself, this is what the new Thorn Totem model looks like. So you can see like the little spiky bits going in and out, and better VFX and everything. Do one more time. So we're in the process of so a lot of our totems up until now have basically just been the same model with a couple things slapped on, like literally just taking some models from other things and just been like, attach it to the model, go. And so like all the totems were basically the same model with just like a color shift or a couple spikes sticking out of it, you know? Okay, I like the server key. So we're taking some time to improve the quality of the models a little bit. Give them some better VFX, give them some better animation. It's just sort of a general polish pass that we're doing on a lot of different things, and this is a neat one that I thought we'd share. And it feels like a leak for you, yeah. Just for you, no one else. No, everyone else, you should close your eyes. Seems like the 0.9 update will be bulky. I mean, the main thing is still multiplayer. That's the big thing. But we're doing a lot of other little stuff too. Oh, this is a cool idol. If you've never seen this before, this is one of 3 unique idols. It's a single slot one, so if you have only one of them equipped, you do more hit damage, but you can't crit. Yeah, sort of a. If you're not stacking crit, but you're going a hit build anyways, it can be really good. It's free damage. We're not leaving damage on the table, are we? Affixes. Ah. We're probably gonna do a. We did these legendaries. Maybe there's another legendary I can make.
Easy.
Just for fun.
Easy.
I like making legendaries. It is warm in here. I gotta keep the door closed because the little one's sleeping. I don't want to make too much noise.
Easy. Too easy.
Gotta stay hydrated. Oh. Can't wait to play Warlock. Yeah, it's gonna be a while there, still. In regards to the combat feel improvements for patch 0.9, on how big of a scale can we expect combat feel improvements? That's a tough question to answer. I mean, a lot of stuff's getting changes and updates. It's a ton of little things. So like every single enemy in the game has had changes done to its combat feel, both in the way it attacks and the way it takes damage. Tons of abilities have had VFX improvements. They're cool gloves. I actually just got these in playing online, and I just picked up these gloves actually. Funny. So it's not really like one big thing that's gonna happen, but like it's so many little things that it's different for everyone. So like I've seen some people be like, I can't really tell the difference, which is rare, but I have heard that by someone once. But most people, I think, it altogether it feels pretty big. Like you see individual little things side by side where we're testing like one element of it, and you're like, looks really similar, and then like once it all comes together, you're like, oh, my goodness. And all the clips that today, I've got a couple more clips today as well, that relate to combat improvements just in general, to show off a few specific elements of that and how it looks. Maybe I can try and find something similar in live to compare it to right now. That'll be a good idea to do. There's actually some enemies here that are similar. Burger Daddy has subbed. Thank you very much, Burger Daddy. Glad to have you with us. I could go for a burger right now. Yeah. I might make burgers tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for deciding my dinner tomorrow night. Can you talk about what Last Epoch leagues, I think you call them cycles, yes, are going to be like at all, or is it something you kept under the wraps still? I mean, so it's tricky. So it's not really something we're keeping under wraps, so to speak, but more the sense that we don't have any concrete details decided on yet. So there's nothing that's like it's specifically going to have these elements. So like, here's a good example. Like when we have a dungeon, we have defined properties that have a dungeon. So a dungeon is, I know this is tangential, but a dungeon is, there's a specific extra ability that goes with the D key. There's a specific mechanic that interacts with in the dungeon. It's usually 2 floors, pseudo-random generation. And then there's a boss at the end, and then there's some sort of unique reward after that. So like that's the definition of a dungeon framework. I can't give you like a definition framework for what a cycle is going to be, and the goal is definitely to get them closer to something on like more similar to what PoE does. If we're looking at like D3 and PoE as good comparison examples on that spectrum of D3 to PoE, it's like closer to PoE. But obviously they have a huge team, and we always like to do things our own way. So it's hard to describe exactly what it's going to be. It's just the best way I can relate it to something that is known. So like, we'll be looking at, obviously, maybe not obviously, but things like balance changes that you see in just about any major patch. Like new unique items, possibly new skills, like it's just sort of more stuff we're going to add to the game sort of in every category. Maybe there's maybe hypothetically maybe there's a cycle that like adds some new dungeons, and there's like a new mechanic that goes with all the dungeons or something like that. Or maybe there's a cycle that like adds a new endgame system, or maybe there's a cycle that like completely shuffles the islands in the monolith and like I don't know, like corrupts some of them or something like that, or like adds a new one and takes one away or something like that, like mixes that up in some way. Maybe there's one that's like things like that, of that nature. These are literally things I'm just making up right now. That style. We're trying to add new content to the game in each cycle, so that it changes the experience for you. Hopefully for the better. Give you new stuff to do, new stuff to find, new stuff to kill, new stuff.
Not happening.
Alright, thanks for the answer, you're welcome. Will Last Epoch have league content anytime soon? Maybe, so we also don't know. Because of the structure of leagues, so to speak, like the first league is just launch, really, how fast we can get another league out after that is unclear. We've been trying to, so for the last couple years we've basically been doing a patch every 3 months or so, and pretty big patches that I would suggest are close to the size that you'd be looking at for a cycle, really. And part of that was because we wanted to learn what it was like to be on this tight development schedule that needed to be constantly changing, all these sorts of things, and so we wanted to practice for that. Yeah, but I don't know when we'll see it. A lot of that's going to be decided based on how things go. So like how the next CT multiplayer test goes will determine when the open multiplayer testing starts, and how that goes will determine when like 0.9 releases, and when that how well that goes will determine how fast 1.0 releases. Like all these types of things are dependent on how well the thing before it goes. Like we may get to releasing the first like 1.0 launch and go, okay, we need a few months to settle things down a bit before we can actually start getting cycle content in. Or so maybe things go great. We're just like, yeah, let's go, You know? This is it's so interesting. So I've already gotten used to it. I just looked at the staff and went, something's wrong here. That doesn't make any sense. And I've already gotten used to it. It's been like a week that it's been in the back end version where the melee, where you see, fun fact, if you alt tab when you're in game, it will leave the item tooltips on screen, and see I can move my cursor around, and the item tooltip stays there, so you can take easy screenshots. But this melee physical damage, the physical's gone. It just says melee damage, and the adaptive spell damage, the adaptive's gone. It just says spell damage, and they both work the way that adaptive spell damage works now. It just says melee damage and spell damage. Now some of them do have specific elements that go with them, but almost every single one of them is just generic now. And it makes building so much more, like, it opens up so many things that, like, I get why we did it initially, but it wasn't working for what we did, why we wanted it initially, and I'm really glad that we did this. Really glad. Let's go get some keys. Alright, next question. Oh, Judd's here. Hi, Judd. Yes, Burger Daddy's a great name. If you are asking questions, don't forget to put at Last Epoch Game in the question here. There's one that I did see. Is the game going to be the same price on release as it is now? Currently, we have no plans to change the price structure of the game. I can't guarantee that nothing changes up or down, but right now our plan is, and I'd be really shocked if it changed. I just don't want to promise something that I don't really have control over. But yeah, like, it's, we have no plans on changing the pricing structure. We've been through we've been through a lot of planning with it over the last few years, and we're really happy with where it is. Helmet.
Not happening.
Alright, got lots of questions here. Do you have power creep in the back of your head when you add new stuff to the game? Absolutely. And any idea how to avoid it? We should do so. For example, D3 and PoE both suffer greatly from it. Power creep's a really tricky thing, because they're by no means the only games in the world that suffer from this. Like, it happens in everything. I was, one of my friends, so I'm going to reference this to Magic a little bit. One of my friends has a Magic deck that requires creatures that have 1 power, so really small creatures, and anything that's more than 1 is just useless. And the most recent set that just finished spoiling yesterday, that's going to come out in a few weeks, there's only 2 creatures in the entire set that are the right color that have 1 power. Only 2 in the whole set. 5 years ago, there would have been a dozen, you know? And it's just, everything's just getting a little bit bigger. Things that were 1-1 before are now 2-1 or 2-2. Like, it's just like, everything's just getting a little bit stronger. And it happens in just about every game that gets frequent updates like that. It's really tricky to avoid. And we've been trying, like, we've even seen it a little bit with us already. Like, we added legendary items and power levels went up. We've had sort of a general plan for power levels at 1.0 that we've been aiming for since we started development. And so, like, it seemed like power creep, but because, like, that's the point we've been aiming for in the first place, it's actually what we always intended to be the level. So it's a little weird. But yeah, one of the ways that I think power creep happens is there's so many things that it's hard to incorporate new, mechanically interesting and different things without just making them better. It's really tricky to do that. I think that we have one very distinct advantage over actually both PoE and D3, is in that a lot of the power, and we're trying to dial this back a little bit, but it's going to be there anyways, is that a lot of the functionality and power is isolated to specific skill trees. So this is not directly connected to this in any way. and because of that, we can make really fine changes. Like, okay, so a good example, in PoE, if they release a new support gem, it has to function well with every single, maybe not every single, because there's always exceptions, but with most of the abilities that are out there. Like, there's like the greater multiple projectiles or whatever. What if they added a mega multiple projectiles that was like it's 10 of them or something, you know? I'm gonna look like an idiot if they've already done that. I just didn't know about it. But anyways, it affects the balance of every single projectile ability in the game. But whereas we can just put it on a single node in a single tree, and it only affects that tree. So I think the compartmentalization is a good tool for us to be able to balance and add new mechanics without having to worry too much about knock-on effects for power creep. And I think that's the key, part of the key is having mechanically unique and new things to add that aren't necessarily just more power. Oh, that's a good item. I don't need it. Alright, do a bunch of questions here that I should probably catch up on, so we're gonna do that. Run! Well, secondary question, what form are you anticipating your online platform to look like? At this stage, the RPG market has quite a few online mode versions. There's PoE D3 system where it's basically bubbled worlds. You have D4 coming out where it's shared world concept or Grim Dawn's fully instanced invite-only online system. I think the most similar thing... The most similar thing will likely be Path of Exile, I think. Yeah, because you're gonna be able to. We're planning on having town scenes where you can see multiple people, but having when you go out into the world, it's instanced with just your party. Can we hope for something to have weapon conversion mechanics similar to Javelin? Or like how shurikens can be converted to chakram for Blade Dancer. Like if you duel with daggers, then the skill converts them into... I'm not even trying to pronounce that. Adding chain-related sub-mechanic. I mean, we do already have things like that, so I don't see why we wouldn't maybe add more. There's no specific plans for that specific thing, but I mean, that style of mechanic is already in the game, so I don't see why we couldn't add more things of that style of mechanic, I guess. Could you guesstimate how many new skills are coming in 0.9? If none, what about revamped skills? So skills are pretty late in the development cycle generally, so right now there's no new skills actively that have been created yet for 0.9. But that doesn't mean there won't be any.
Easy. Too easy.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been so long since we had a patch recently. I can't remember like which skills have already been reworked at all. There's been extremely light on skills development in the last few months. Our skills pipeline basically shut down for a few months. There's been a lot of bug fixing and like balance tweaking, I want to say, not really revamping. And there's been a lot of like just making things more clear, making things work better. There's been a lot of little stuff like that that has a huge impact when you put it all together. Yeah, we just spun our skills development back up last week. And it wasn't for the patch. Alright. Hey Mike, how's your day going? My day's going pretty good. I got up early, which wasn't awesome, but The small child in the house, you get up early most days. Fix a couple problems that were bugging me this week already, which is great. Got a new UI panel that I'm working on that I was really hoping to get done this week. I don't think it's going to be finished. So Monday. How's your day going? That's what I want to know. Ooh, that's, yep. Just chill out, guys. Get Arnie in here. Let's chill out. Alright. I just wanted to say that I donated to the Kickstarter way back when. I'm absolutely stoked at how far the game's come. Oh, it's come a long way. I see some of the like footage from like the Kickstarter. You go back and watch the Kickstarter footage. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Like, just by comparison, it was so cool to be doing it at the time, and like I was so thrilled with how it looked at the time. It was so great, and now I go back and look at it and go, my goodness, what were we thinking? But I'm so happy everyone could see what we saw and had faith enough in us to push the project forward, because my goodness, that was a leap. Sorry, let's finish the question. Stoked to see how far it's come. The entire team has done a fantastic job. If you ever need a cloud engineer, call up Burger Daddy. Yeah. It's great to have you with us. Yeah, Burger Daddy, great name. Well, we always have job postings on our site. Let's see if one fits you. So do you guys ever thought about making totems indestructible? We have. And do you plan on having other class that can use totems? Not specifically. We do try and keep like class identity is really important to us, and one of the defining class identities of like Primalist and Shaman specifically is totems as a mechanic. That theming, everything that goes with it. It would be pretty surprising if we did totems on another class. I could see, like, the only way I'd see totems on another class like likely actually showing up is in some sort of like item that could put a totem down on any class or something like that.
Not happening.
That would be like themed for Shaman and best on Shaman, but like you can use it on anything, that sort of thing. Or like give a Shaman totem skill to another class. Something like that might be cool. But I think, you know, Shaman's the totem spec. At least for now. Even the like the other classes that we've sort of talked about and said that we liked more than the other potential classes for follow-up classes. You know, the one like nothing's set, but like the ones where we're like, oh, that's a winner. Let's make sure to keep that one on, like write that one down type thing. None of them were totem builds. Are we going the wrong way? Yes, we are. That was nice. Alright, next question. Oh, what's the best way to provide feedback about a whole bunch of things I'm playing it for the first time? Forum? Yes. It's all in one post? Okay, yes. Don't split into different topics. No, I just want one post. Yep, that's the best way. There's a feedback section on the forums. And I think there's a sticky post at the top of that with advice on how to give good feedback. And I don't mean positive feedback, but good quality feedback, which can very well be negative. Like you can say things are bad. That's what I'm saying. least I hope that's there. Not it should be. Yeah. You heard some people get alpha access to the multiplayer patch to test it, but never really knew where to actually opt into it. Yeah, there's a community tester program, is what we call it. We run that. There's information on how to apply for it on our website. We do like accept people individually because there is an NDA for it. Yeah. Hello, I've heard Carve is now working full time for you. Yes, he is. I hope we give him some skill or build or class work to work on. We can't blame him we can blame him if we don't like it. Yeah, Carve is a very active participant in our skill design team. Has been for a long time. He's super duper knowledgeable. And so frequently, someone will come up with, it's funny, so frequently someone will come up with an idea. It's like, oh, what if we do this? And Carl will just go, that conflicts with this, can't do it. There's a few people Carve. Some hammering. Just a second to see if that's the wife hammering. Oh, no, the kid's awake. Kickstarter footage has multiplayer in it. Yes, it does have multiplayer in it. That was our first technically functional version of multiplayer. That was it's just a little bit of it, and it's so messed up. In that multiplayer, when that was happening, the only person that could see anything multiplayer happening was me, because I was recording that. And everyone else couldn't see their own abilities, couldn't see themselves. It was just like they were playing completely blind, and they're just kind of running and pressing buttons and hoping something looked cool. It was very, very janky and stitched together at the last second. We're like, yeah, that's the exact bow he's using online. We really need some sort of multiplayer footage. Just get something we can show at all, just to prove we're planning on trying to do it at least.
Not happening.
And we've gone through several iterations of multiplayer since then. And this one is by far the best. My goodness.
Not happening. Easy. Too easy.
Whoop. All right. Portal, please. Portal, please. Oh, I had a question that came up in discussion. Has there been any consideration given towards, probably, establishing something akin to a player council that is created of players for different demographics? Hardcore 60-plus hour players, the 2 to 3 hours a night, etc. By player council, I'm referring partly to something akin to EVE Online's method to keep things between the player base and the devs more civil. I mean, things like that have come up in conversation. Second piece of that set I've got today. There's a few other versions of it that have come up in conversations. The Old Republic had a. Oh no, it wasn't the Old Republic. Maybe it was the Old Republic. Some Star Wars Online game had a really interesting way of doing that. I don't think there's any need for it really right now. I know I say this every time I stream, but I need to fix this so bad. Stash some stuff. I don't know why I keep all this stuff. I do know why, because I come back through here when I'm setting up characters. And it makes life so much easier. We're just gonna stash everything. We're doing it. Bye everything. Let's find some new stuff. So there's galaxies. That's totally it. Yes. This is absolutely what I'm talking about. Thank you. Your OCD goes a little bad when you see my stash. That stash has not been cleared out or organized in like 4 years. Every like long-term bug that can exist in the game exists in that version of the stash. It is so messed up. It's the stash that I used to build the stash system, so there's like all sorts of messed up states that it has of like things that just shouldn't exist. It's terrible. All the labels are wrong. The search function's good enough that it doesn't really matter.
Not happening.
I do want to get more stuff into that search function though. That's sort of like been on the back of my mind to-do list for a long time now, is stash upgrades. Really want to do some. Probably do some when we actually multiplayerize it, because it's still in multiplayer it's even worse. You only get one stash dev right now in multiplayer. Only one. It's a special challenge mode. We call it Highlander tab mode. I'm kidding, I just made that up. That would be a good ring for like a Maelstrom build. Explain stash upgrade sounds interesting. I don't have anything specific. Sorry. But like, I don't know, little things here and there, just so the number of tiles is odd. And I know that irks a lot of people. Like the height is odd. With the sort button, how it causes a vertical column, it causes vertical columns to happen. Like, if you do this, or here, I'll just be easier. And it creates this vertical column. I want it to do this instead, so that it leaves bigger spaces for things like this to go in. You know, stuff like that. And then like maybe have like when you, well, it does sort slightly differently when you press it multiple times, but like more different ways that you can force the sort, and like there's other features that people have suggested, which I know we want to get in eventually, but it'll be a long time before they happen. So things like tab affinity or whatever, where you can say like put all my axes into this tab, and you just like quick move, and it just like forces it into specific tabs, things like that. It's a lot of like just quality of life, nice little things, but it's definitely not necessary, and sort of a, if we got time, let's go for it. My goodness, it is hot in here. Door's getting opened because I cannot handle it. Lagon, it's just you and me now. I think we'll find a question I can ramble on about while I'm doing this. Bizarre is still a thought, like the idea. No, we're not doing that right now. I saw player council in other games. It's not that good. Last time I saw that in Dead by Daylight. Bad idea from council. Explain stash up. Any quality of life changes coming from 0.9 I can share? No. It's possible to get that t-shirt? Probably. Oh, we're doing some damage here. There is... I know we've struggled with physical merch fulfillments for quite a while. Ow. That was my face, buddy. And, I know that's finally getting... For a long time, all of the... every single, like, t-shirt or playmat or, like, anything physical that got sent out to anyone was, like, mailed out by the game director's wife herself, and I think that just recently changed. I don't know if we've got like a proper like merch fulfillment system set up yet. And I have no idea how she got so many of them out as fast as she did with like everything else going on. My goodness. But I think it's really good that we've got a dedicated system for it coming. Do you have any plans to change how crit works? There's some plans we've had for a while to change how you build crit. That's kind of the best way I can describe it, but not how it functions. Ow.
Waves will shatter you.
Eep.
My waves will shatter you.
Oh, mid backflip.
My waves will shatter you.
See that? You can see him. So I have not been doing very well this time, but if you can see him starting to do the sweep attack, you can get him to do the beam gaze in the opposite direction that you are, so you can get him to do it away from you if you move the opposite direction that he's going to be going as he's started it. Because once he's started it, he won't change the direction he's going. Mana? We don't do lightning damage, so like shock and lightning res shred are so useless. Oh no, we do. What am I talking about? I mean, cold is our primary damage source. But the mana might actually just be because yeah, we do mostly cold. I'm just gonna take the mana. I do have mana problems. Oh, an LP Alluvian. That sounds like fun. Oh. So no trade between players? Not what I said at all. What? Oh, I didn't. What? Mike, what are you doing? Yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah. Let's go to this one. You know what, Boss Kill? Boss Kill deserves a thematically appropriate little teaser. Little teaser. Ooh. Storm Totem. Oh, yeah. Good shot of it. Yeah, it like breathes. Yeah. This one's my favorite, I think, of the new totems. Just because that little subtle animation of it going. Big fan. Here we go. Alright. Are there any popular skills, builds you look at and say to yourself, that's pretty much perfectly balanced? Pretty much just curious what your philosophy regarding skill balance. I don't think we've really put too much thought into the term perfectly balanced yet. Mostly just because we're adding so much so quickly still that it's hard to say like that's perfectly balanced. And I would suggest that the builds that I don't have a good example. I'm sorry. the ones that I don't know if I can answer this question really. I want to like say something abstract about balance. That's sort of like the ones that use multiple skills together to achieve something new and interesting. Kind of like this build I'm playing right now, I think is really good.
Not happening.
The ones that are fun to play. There's always going to be things that are stronger than others. That's just nature of the beast, really. Trying to get as many things in that like category. It's so hard. The definition. So I think I was thinking about this more. And I think the hard part about it is defining the term viable. I think that's the hardest part about creating balance in a game like this. Is usually what you want to do is have as many things viable as possible. And sometimes when I'm talking to people about balance in other games, it feels like the only builds that are viable are the top tier builds. So there's like S tier and A tier builds are viable. Everything else is garbage. It's like it's the Ricky Bobby mentality of balance in some cases, and I don't know if that's something we can get away from or not. So the goal is kind of trying to get as many things into that defined as viable category as possible. I know that doesn't answer your question at all, and I'm sorry. But hopefully that gives some insight. I think the really good ones are ones where there's variants of them, where it's like, here's the core build, and you can take it, you can have this variant or that other variant or this other variant, and they all work and they're all fun. I think those are the ones that are my favorites as far as balance goes. Where the decision on how you're building it comes down to your personal preference and style more so than how much damage it does. Or how fast it clears content. Are there any popular... Oh, that's the same question. Now that your development has been going for many years. Yes. Are you all still glad you went with Unity, or do you wish you'd started in another engine? This is a question I get like surprisingly frequently. So I have a canned response for you. I'm sorry. But I have thought about this a bunch. And my answer is just like a hard no. Wait, be glad. Yes, hard yes. I am glad. Usually the question's worded the other way, where it says, do you wish you'd gone with something else instead? Oh, you said in the second half. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm glad we went with Unity. No, I do not wish we'd started another engine. I don't think we would have got to where we are in another engine. There are a lot of advantages to other engines, and there's a lot of like really good arguments for saying like we should have used engine A, B, or C, or built our own or whatever. Like there's a lot of really good arguments for all those other options, and I don't want to discredit any of those arguments with this, but I don't think that I don't think that Last Epoch would exist the way it is today if the decision hadn't been made to go with Unity. Yeah. And maybe it would just be very different. Maybe it would be better even. I don't know. But it's like those movies where you like go back in time and change something, and the consequences end up being way worse than you ever could have imagined. You try and fix something and it becomes way worse. I feel like that's what would end up happening. Like if you like had a time machine, go back, change it. I think it'd be like that unintended effect of like, oh my gosh, things are so much worse now. What am I doing? What am I doing? Hands in the wrong keys. Obligatory win is multiplayer question. When it's ready.
Easy.
I need a soundbite of that I can just hit a button. Alright, last question I can think of for dev streams. Is this something you'd intend to keep doing post-launch? Ideally. Or is it mostly just an early access thing? I think something akin to long-term would be awesome. Yeah, we haven't really hard discussed it if we're going to keep doing this or not. I'm really down to. I have a ton of fun doing this. I think post-launch, I like, so if I'm gonna like look into my crystal ball, if I'm gonna read my palm lines or whatever, and try and predict the future, I'd suggest that likely it'll be less frequent. So maybe every other week type thing. Maybe once a month, but longer. I don't know, but I'd really like to keep doing it. The cadence that we're on is really nice. I have a ton of fun with it. There's a lot of really great things about this, about doing this for me personally as a developer that I really enjoy. And I think that doing this has improved my ability to develop Last Epoch as a game. On top of all of the awesome stuff it does for the community as well. But just from a selfish point of view. Oh, 2 LP Rainbow Edge, look at that. Yeah, so I'd like to keep doing it, but I can't say for sure, because who knows what'll happen. Crimson Shiro asks, what are the dev team's thoughts about set items currently? That's not a loaded question at all, eh? Do you think they're fine where they are? Do you think they could expand it upon in some way? No, they need some love. I don't know what that means or what that looks like right now, but no, they need some love. A while back, I thought I heard talk about a new model for Lich. Is that still planned? We had talked about it. I think it'll still happen. There's nothing that's been created for it yet. What happens to 0.9 characters when it leaves early access 1.0? So this is the plan. This is one of those things where it's like, the plan's this, but it could change. So the plan right now is to put them into a quote-unquote standard league, where they would not be, like, where things would be restarting. And so we're not 100% sure if that's going to happen. This goes back to the cycle start date question that we had earlier, whereby if 1.0 launch marks the start of a new cycle, it's possible. It's so tricky on how to word this properly, but there's the 0.9 characters, and once the first cycle starts, the 0.9 characters will be moved into a standard league. That's a good way to word it. Those characters might be new character when 1.0 launches. New characters created in 1.0 might possibly be in that new cycle. They might possibly be in their own sort of like temp cycle limbo state. They might possibly be created with 0.9 characters in the standard league. It's sort of unclear when the timing on that happens. So the key thing is we don't want to delete characters. We don't want to take stuff that you've worked on and just remove it completely. However, we would like to have a equal footing start with people who pick up the game at launch, because the early access isn't for everyone. So we don't want to give. So the advantage we want to give to early access players is the knowledge and experience that they gain by playing the game, not the progress that they've made on those characters when starting fresh alongside 1.0 purchased accounts. but we don't want to delete their characters, so we want to keep them in the standard league as well. So you can still play them if you want. I know that was rambly, and I hope it explained it right. If you're confused still, as I expect many of you probably are from that, please feel free to head on over to Discord later, and I'll type out a more specific version if you want it. You can ask in the channel, and we can give a more specific version. There might already be a version in the you can do exclamation mark multiplayer, and it'll probably just give you a FAQ posting that probably has an answer to this question already. It might be as vague as I've just said, or maybe more vague even. And obviously subject to change. Well, hopefully obviously subject to change. Ooh, 1 LPX Sanguinus. Look at that. I'll take it. All the way to the bank. Ramdon TV. Almost messed up there. I bought the game 3 days ago. I can't stop playing it. Hopefully you can to like sleep and go outside and things like that. But other than that, keep up the good work. Will the game be translated to Brazilian Portuguese? Possibly. We don't have. We are translating the game. We're localizing the game. That's what it's called. Sorry. We don't have a set list of the specific languages. We're gonna do it in waves as well. So we'll start off with like. We still have to build the system to let us localize the game properly, which, oh my god, is a lot of work. Some of the systems are set up for it, some of them aren't. So we're still working on that. But the hardest thing is going to be all the tooltips. Localizing every tooltip, my goodness, that'll be hard. But that's in progress. That's all in progress. And we've partnered with someone that does fantasy RPG game translations for other games and things like that already. So like qualified people who have experience doing this sort of thing and can do it quickly. Yeah, we're still building the systems to make it possible for us to actually implement that, and then we got to figure out which languages we want to do first. And we don't know which languages we want to do first yet. But we'll probably do them in waves. So we'll start off with a few languages. Like, we probably won't do like... I'm trying to think of like a really obscure language, like ancient Greek, or like Latin. Latin probably won't be one of the first languages that we do. But yeah, we'll hopefully add more and more and more. We do have a surprisingly large contingent of people who work in the game that live in Brazil, actually, already. So that's pretty cool. I can fill on Fridays for you. All right, Aaron. Sounds good. I'll hold you to that. I was looking for a supporter pack and merch on the website. Can't find anything. Uh-oh. See if we can find it. If you go to our website, lastepoch.com, there's a shop now button in the top right. And that's it. It takes you right there. Oh, I just clicked something. I don't know what I just changed. Thank you, Ramdon TV. Oh, I missed another one too 14 minutes ago. Thank you very much, Deviled Dog B15. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Glad to have you with us. Sorry I missed that. Thank you very much. And Ramdon TV has also subbed. Appreciate it, guys. Happy to have y'all here. Glad you're having fun. Hopefully you've learned something. I know I have. I do every time. Alright, next question. You guys mentioned you plan having leagues like in PoE. I don't know if I'm just really far behind, or if this is a follow-up question, or like just a repeat question, or like someone just joined partway through. But I'll try and give a real brief answer. So this is just: are we going to have leagues? We'll release the full game. Maybe I don't know when they're going to start. We will have leagues of some sort. We're calling them cycles. It might start at 1.0 launch. It might start a week after 1.0 launch. It might start 3 months after 1.0 launch. I don't know when it's going to start. It'll likely be pretty quick. That's pretty good. Once multiplayer is launched, do you plan to bring back the patch cycle to 3 months? We don't have a set hard timeline on that yet. I think that that's not an unreasonable target to aim for. But we don't know. It could be, maybe it's 4 months. You know? Maybe it's 3.5 months. Maybe it's some other number that I didn't just say there. I don't know. But yeah, like a shorter... We do plan on bringing back shorter patch cycles. The current patch cycle is an exception to what our goal is. And it was specifically to get multiplayer in. It's a nice ring. Just because, you know, maybe you don't know about multiplayer. My goodness, that's a complicated beast. I had no idea. Before starting this game, like, it's a good thing that I'm not the network engineer developer, because my goodness, those guys are brilliant, and give me 10 years and I'll be able to do that. All right, getting a little parched there. I'm talking quite a bit. Will we ever see a poison hit skill? I mean, ever's a long time. We have no plans for it at the moment. That's one of the key defining features of poison, is that there are no poison hit skills. Everything that applies poison through a hit does so with another base ability, usually physical. So, like, even for example, Acid Flask does physical damage. You can see them on their physical poison throwing attack dexterity. The initial impact, the glass shattering, is physical damage, and then the poison in the vial, the flask, sorry, poisons things. The falconer is a class many people are looking forward to. Is there any small thing or cool idea that you could tease about the falconer that you think will make it stand out in the game? Not really. There's like, it's still so early in development that like even things I've said previously about it are no longer true. Like, so it's like so unbelievably early in development. I can't really say anything about it because there's not really much to say. There's gonna be a falcon involved. Like, the falconer is not like a dragoon, like a dragon lancer, where there's like no actual dragon involved in most situations. Like, there's a falcon involved with the falconer. That's about all I can say. Sorry. Oh, Shreddy. Oh, second lead time? I think you mean third? Come on. And sure. I've got... So here's an example of some combat feel improvements. So this is... I'll just show it here in both. So we've got a Void Knight dealing... I just realized it was my skill bar on the bottom, and I'm like, wait a minute, those are not Void Knight skills. What? No, yes, this is Void Knight doing void damage, killing some bugs. So we're seeing death effects for some enemies that didn't exist before. The death effects didn't, and also just the on-hit effects for void damage. There's two. So all these new death effects and impact, and there's like stagger effects and stun effects and things like that. All that stuff is in for every enemy in the game. Every attack in the game has these new effects into it. All that. Cool. There we go. There we go. Did I catch some questions? Oh, it's some questions that weren't tagged. If you have a question, please don't forget to tag at Last Epoch Game in the question, and I will see it easier. Is multiplayer scheduled for Q4 2022? I do not have any information that I can share with you on the timeline of multiplayer at all. I'm sorry. Very clear. No information. When it's ready. Greetings from Russia-speaking community on the game. Hello. How are you? I don't know any Russian to speak to you in. I'm sorry. Combat looks crisp. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a lot. It's hard to describe and pick out from a clip like that all the things that are different. But yeah, there's a lot of tiny little things that are happening there that I think are really nice. Of course, there it's a nice shield. I like the way it looks a lot. Do you think that classes feeling like they have to play certain skills or they aren't good might be a problem? Yes. I think examples of that are few and far between, but very prominent when they do exist. So, for example, like shift on a rogue, you pretty much have to be using shift on a rogue. I will say that rogue has the fewest number of total skills of everyone. There's a base skill here, there's another base skill here missing, there's 2 skills in each of these masters missing, and then there's 5 skills here missing, so that's what? There's 9 skills missing for rogue still. So, there's still time. But yeah, that is something we like to try and avoid. There's a few other examples of that, like, it's mostly movement skills, honestly. It's not entirely, but mostly. Like utility skills, I guess I should say, is usually what it is. And we do keep that in mind when developing new things. We try and make adjustments so that they're not quite as ubiquitous. Sometimes that's through adding other options. Sometimes that's through reducing their efficiency a little bit. We try not to reduce the cooldown or like the core functionality of what it does, but more just like keeping the feel the same, but reducing the power a little bit, I guess, is the target there sometimes, or just adding in other options that are competitive with it. Sometimes that's really subtle. So sometimes that's by like creating certain abilities that are really good to go with certain builds that share a cooldown with that ability that is basically ubiquitous, causes that ability to not be the best thing for that build. And even just like making it so that there's like, say there was that one ability that was used on half the characters of that class. That's way better than 90%, you know? Even though half's a ton for a single skill to be represented on, that is leagues better than 90%. But like, so if we were to do something to shift, it would probably be more in the along the lines of like trying to find ways to make it so you don't need it, not making shift worse. Not making any sense. or maybe that you just like there's like just other abilities that are just so good that like you just can't fit shift into the build or something. I don't know. You gotta tag me if you want me to say this. You want me to say private or privet? I say private, but I know it's not the only way to say it. Speaking of Acid Flask, what are your thoughts about that skill? It seems to be lacking in damage and doesn't really fill a definitive role. What niche is it supposed to fill? Yeah, its damage is low right now. And okay, so maybe the damage isn't low, but the other one that came out recently was definitely subject to power creep. Umbral Blades. Umbral Blades is just better at doing Acid Flask things than Acid Flask.
Not happening.
Which was probably a mistake, so
Easy.
you know we'll see what happens there. But I think that Acid Flask is an old skill that's missing new synergies, new styles of synergies, new styles of nodes. There's lots of things that we've learned or added to the game so that we're able to add to new effects to things, new styles and mechanics we can incorporate that it doesn't have incorporated because it's so old. So I think it's mostly just a product of its age related to Umbral Blades. That was a good one. Woo, there we go. Just gotta complain about it a little bit. Just gotta complain about it a little bit. Another question I missed, sorry about that. Do you think that classes feeling like they have to play... Oh, that was the same. Bleh. My friend just recommended the game for me, and it's been one of the best experiences that I've ever had. Thank you. Thank you so much for your efforts in creating the game. Keep up with the awesome work. Thank you. Sorry about my rusty English. I'm not main language. You know what? You are better at English than I am at any other language, so good job. As far as I'm concerned, you did great. And that's after 13 years of French lessons. I think I've learned more French from recently listening to community reruns. And that was Spanish. No, I had, when I was in high school, I had French and Spanish class in the same classroom with the same teacher, back to back, every Tuesday and Thursday morning. And it was always French then Spanish, and like, I get so confused because like, homework would be due for both of them on the same day, and I'd be doing them the same nights, and like, oh, that was just tragic. That was a horrible scheduling mistake. Whoever did that schedule, bad. Yeah, I technically have a first year university, like a French 101 class credit. I speak no French. So good job on your English. That's all I'm getting at. Was having a skill slot be specifically for utility or movement skill for every class like considered? Kind of how Wolfson has dodge roll ability for everyone. Yeah, definitely. We actually prototyped that and put it in the game for a little while. It never was released in a patch, but yes, we definitely decided we definitely considered that, and it almost made its way into the game. And we felt it was a little too restrictive. And like we looked at a bunch of other examples. The extreme example is Guild Wars 2. Where you have like your bar is dictated by the weapons you use, and you have like your like 4 attack abilities, your like movement ability, and your like utility abilities, and your healing ability, and like I don't know, actually it's been I played the game for like a year and a half on launch, and kind of fell out of it, unfortunately. Loved Guild Wars 1. My God, Guild Wars 1 was amazing. When it was at its peak, Guild Wars 1 was one of my favorite games of all time. Oh my God, I love it. Sorry, derailed there a bit, but we decided it was a little too restricting, and felt it was better just to go with just having ability, like movement abilities that people can pick from. Yeah.
Not happening.
We also considered having like one generic ability, like just a role that would have like a generic tree that every class could access, and then there'd be like extra nodes in your passive tree that would affect it as well. There's all sorts of different versions of it that we tried, and we just scrapped all those things. We decided we didn't like them. We felt having the base movement abilities be thematic was better.
Easy.
And you kind of get a similar effect when you put them on the same cooldown. So when you have shared cooldowns on movement abilities in the same class, you get a really similar effect. But you then get the more interesting build crafting options by you can add items that say they no longer share a cooldown. And then suddenly there's a way people can have control over these mechanics themselves. Strict rules and ways to break them. That's what I like. Sounds like a weird, like I don't know, like a some sort of design book or something like that. Strict rules and how to break them, or ways to break them. I don't know. Someone can have that one. Oh, was it discussed? Yes, it was discussed. It's pronounced Privet. Privet? Never heard Privet. That's a new one for me. LE will have an auction house, correct? No. In Diablo 3, while it had an auction house, the best way to make more money to become a merchant reselling stuff. Will LE avoid that somehow? Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing a D3 auction house. I think the auction house was. This is. What's the opposite of a hot take? A cool take? The auction house was the worst part of D3. It almost killed the game. Like if anything could have killed it, that was it. I don't think it actually almost killed the game, but like it tried real hard.
Not happening.
I know there's rumors that get floated around on what's going to happen. If anyone tells you they know what trade is going to be like in Last Epoch, they're guessing or lying.
Easy.
Or possibly both. Or breaking an NDA. And even then, partially guessing still.
Easy. Too easy.
Alright. Next question. Is the Ballista Harpoon Pulse still going to get reworked for patch 9? I don't know who told you that was getting reworked. It's still in the game. I do really think, on a side note, I do think that Ballista has some issues, especially in the like leveling progression functionality. So it has there is a way to build. Love this X. There is a way to build Ballista that does work. It's very specific, and the tree has so many problems. I think we were a little timid when we made the tree, and it's a pretty old tree as well. There's too many nodes that are just like this. This I think is really indicative of a bad node in this tree. This intrinsic downside of less attack speed is just painful because it's so anti-synergistic with so many other things that you want to do with Ballista, like being able to apply lots of elements quickly to multiple enemies, like shredding resistances, stuff like that. It's like so anti-synergistic there. And then just the multiplicative more damage. It's so boring, and it's such a like. It's so bad for so many reasons. I can say that because I was heavily involved with the creation of this tree. So there's a good chance I put this node here. And I think this tree needs some love in general. I think there's a lot of really good bones here, and a lot of cool mechanics and stuff that I want to keep. But there's a few nodes that I really don't like. Like this, especially when it's after this, like these two nodes together are just like, ugh, what were you thinking, guys? Come on, type thing. There's some other nodes that I don't like. I've been playing a lot of. Oh, hey, cool! This is the relic that I needed for that other build. I didn't drop it. Anyways, I've been playing a lot of Ballista online lately, partially because of I've been doing a lot of testing on European servers, and it's a little laggy on European servers right now because I'm on about as far from Europe as you can get, so it's not awesome being that far, and so when I do that, I always I try to play pet build, just because they're easier to play with lots of lag. And so I've been trying to play Ballista through that whole leveling process in multiplayer, and I've been feeling bad things about it. But no, I don't know who said specifically the harpoon pull is getting a rework for 0.9. Is there any time frame for the multiplayer patch? No. How will it work? How is the work coming on Summon Sabertooth? Bear, Bone Golem, any updates? Might be expected to come 0.9. Bone Golem, yes. There you got one. I forgot about that. Yes, Bone Golem has had not an overhaul, but a glow up. I'm gonna call it a glow up. That'll be in 0.9. I think the other two should do as well. We like to try and do the visuals at the same time as mechanical adjustments, and the visuals are done for it, so we'll likely try and get the mechanical changes done too, but they're not done, so can't say they're going to be in for sure. I was curious how hard you would say the peak of Last Epoch is. Has there been any consideration for monster density changes? Even if there isn't loot associated, just having large groups of monsters can feel good to kill sometimes. Yeah, so there's a lot of performance problems in the current live build that one of the ways we've combated those in the past is just fewer things on screen. And we're still in the process of improving performance overall, but there's some big improvements that have come recently, and as more improvements continue to roll in after that, it's likely that we'll start not using that as a performance improvement mitigating tool as much, hopefully at all. So I could see more enemy density showing up near the end, like in later monoliths and things like that, but there's no specific like, oh, it's gonna happen here or anything like that. There's a fair bit of density in arenas most of the time as well. And I know it's never going to be PoE levels of density. I kind of see the primalist, or whatever you called that druidy character that's playable, having a subclass oriented around plants and poison. Yeah, I mean, it does have that already. So yes. Two-part question. One, will streaming drops be included after launch? That's definitely something we want to include. It's not a launch goal. Will there be a content creator program who will be authorized to provide drops? Interesting, maybe. We do try and like we've got Discord DMs with many of the more I would say consistent Last Epoch content creators. So just people who we see make a lot of videos on Last Epoch. We'll usually open a Discord conversation with a few of the devs and the marketing and community managers and things like that to just keep in communication about things, just to help them out, and it helps us, it helps them to just be in communication. So we just keep an eye out for like YouTube videos and people who stream a lot and things like that, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that evolved into what you're suggesting there, but there's no specific plan for that. Yeah. Next question. Pew, pew, pew. Can't leak sensitive information if that information hasn't been decided on. Yeah. Pro tip: just don't figure out anything, and you can't leak anything. Just know nothing. The best way to keep info when you're being interrogated: just know nothing. Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor? Ooh, absolutely. So like, my favorite ice cream, sort of like, generally, like, okay. If I'm going to an ice cream shop, I'll usually actually, like a nice, like, artisanal style ice cream shop where there's like 100 things to choose from. I'm specifically referencing there's an amazing ice cream shop in Cochrane, Alberta, that I've been to like twice because I don't even live in the same province. But oh my god, McCrae's, I think it's called. McKay's. That's what it's called, McKay's. Oh, it's so good. And in a situation like that, I'll usually go for something like berry forward, sometimes even like a sorbet. I grew up not having dairy, so like it was always like ice cream was always just like sorbet style stuff. So that's like I really like strawberries or raspberries, things like that. But if I'm gonna go like pick an ice cream flavor, it's always gonna be like something in a caramel base. Usually with like chocolate in it, something like a Rolo style ice cream where there's like chocolate with caramel inside chunks mixed in with it and things. Like a vanilla base, chocolate caramel chunks. All right. The important questions, right? Oh, that could be a nice hat. No. Not bad. All right, next question. Excited to make Golem Answer for 0.9. Oh yeah. Yeah, and Aaron's got his unique item coming too. I feel like running an arena champion. Oh, man, I don't have a ton of time left, but yeah, I could do that. Okay, here, let's race through this one as fast as we can. And I'll go do that.
Not happening.
I could just portal out, but no, need that stability. This is kill things to find out where it is, isn't it? Come on, give me a quest marker.
Not happening.
Come on. There we are. Thank you. Ooh. Ooh. Alright, next question. Have a preview for the next patch? I have little teasers here and there, but patch preview, we're a ways out from patch preview still. I have got this question a few times where, like, you guys said September, where's the patch preview? Never said September. It's a rumor that keeps getting propagated. It's not true. We didn't even technically even say after September. Which is one I'll let slide because it's close enough to the truth. Alright. If you could add one thing to the game without any regard for balance or necessity, what would you want to add? Just anything, just with blatant disregard to everything. I would add weapon swap. That's like the weirdest answer possible. I would add weapon swap. I would add the ability to switch to a secondary weapon. Still have a local branch where it works. Haha. That's what I would add. I know that's not what you're expecting at all. Arena key. Here we go to the arena. Do you feel like Thorn Totem is a bit disappointing? No? I love the idea of having totem skills to do damage, but it feels like the lack of interesting totems makes it unappealing. Okay. Lizard, you did miss totem leaks. I started leaks early. I know I usually like wait until later on in the stream. But you know, sometimes you gotta get here early. Sometimes I sneak them in early. Here, just for you from that, I'll get you. Here we go. Here's another totem leak for you. Here's another totem leak for you. Yeah, nailed it. First try. So this is Upheaval Totem. It's rotating weird. It's hard to see it. Oh, there's a good shot of it. I really like this one too. So it does rotate differently when you cast it initially. But yeah, this one's I'm a big fan of this one. Alright, is there a plan to improve Void Knight melee? Most people go as caster Void Knight because it is better. I don't have specific insights into balance changes, sorry. Today I dreamed that the node in Void Knight that converts Smite to Void will also convert multi-strike next patch. Did I have a premonition? I can say that is not currently the way it is set up in our live build version. Oh my goodness. I don't have anything unlocked here. Alright, let's go. Level 50. This is going to be so hard. Yes, Weapon Swap would love that. Yeah, see? Not the only one, huh? What is EG philosophy on quality of life in video games? For example, D3 has pretty good quality of life, while PoE is keeping it hostage for whatever reason. Feels bad, man. I think the term quality of life needs a proper definition. Because I think it gets used in ways that I disagree with, personally. I'm not going to say wrong, because I could be wrong with the way I'm defining it. But I disagree with the way quality of life gets used as a term a fair bit.
Easy.
And I think the key really is... I don't know what the key is, really. We don't want to hurt our players physically, like literally hurt them because they're getting like RSI or it's making that worse for them. So, and that is something that we literally do take into account and have taken into account right from the start, which is why we have controller support. So like, like right off the bat. But I think there's a lot of things that get suggested as quality of life improvements that I see daily on our forums that gets, not daily specifically in the forums, but like forums, Reddit, Discord, that I get seen suggested as quality of life improvements that are mechanical changes and functional changes to the game that are not quality of life improvements. And I think framing those suggestions as such is kind of unfair to the developers a little bit. Like, I'm specifically talking about other games here. And us too, I guess. But I see it a lot in other games too, where someone says like, "Oh, we need this quality of life change," and it's like, well, it's not a quality of life change. That's a design change. And it's not. That doesn't invalidate the suggestion either. That doesn't make it a bad suggestion at all. It could be necessary for the game to improve. But I think framing it as a quality of life improvement is not always accurate. And I'm very willing to be wrong about this. There's a siege golem somewhere in here that's just like sniping at me from far away. Okay, let's get another question going. Come on, more, harder. Let's go, faster. Charge! You said Ellie won't have an auction house, but isn't there a function called the bazaar planned? What's the difference? The bazaar was planned quite a while ago. It is no longer planned. There was an update that went out, but I know it's not all information gets disseminated properly to everyone. But yes, the big difference between the bazaar plan and an auction house was that there is the auction house has a single. Generally, auction houses have single place that you can go to, that you can browse and search and view all items simultaneously that are available in that auction, in that system. The bazaar was not planned to be that way. That's the big difference between the two. But I agree that they did share quite a few similarities. I gotta ask, spear and shield, pretty please. I was gonna do spear and shield. I see what you're saying as a thing. I mean, there are intentionally. How do I say this? There are intentionally certain weapon combinations and fantasy archetypes that have been omitted in order to allow for interesting expansions in the future. Will you address autocasting via numpad for the multiplayer release? I'd be curious to know what you think needs addressing about it. We've made statements about it. Do you think it needs to be attempted to be removed from the game? I say attempted because it's not possible. It's possible to make it difficult enough that people have to resort to trusting third-party software developers with no with like little to no previous credentials to prove that it's safe software to use, and that's not a situation we want to put our users in. But there will every single suggestion I've heard about how to combat autocasting as from a functional standpoint in the game of like detecting the numlock key or like polling the press rate of keys for consistency rates, things like this. There's lots of weird tricks you can do, and every single suggestion I've heard for things like that I've found, and this is knowing the way it's built in the game, I can't come up with a system to prevent it that I can't get around in like more than 5 minutes with a very simple piece of software that is free on the internet that anyone can use. It's yeah. And then you get into issues of like, okay, well then detect that software. Okay, people can write other software that just has different names than it to detect, and okay, well try and detect generic versions of that. Okay, great. Now someone's using software like that to do something else unrelated to the game, which I actually use daily, and all of a sudden you're just like hurting them from being able to play. So you're making the experience for legitimate players legitimate. Assuming that using the numlock trick is quote unquote not legitimate, which I'm not saying that's the case, but context. Assuming that was the case, you're making the experience for legitimate players worse by targeting illegitimate players, and I think that's a negative experience overall, especially when the illegitimate players can just get around it anyways. So. And I know use of legitimate and illegitimate there was not ideal, but I don't know the right term for it. Sorry. Alright, what is your favorite class to play with 4-player and 2-player? I really enjoy... I'm a huge Rogue fanboy. It's getting worse and worse how much I love Rogue. And it's like, the more I play it, the more I like it. I just love it so much. I am really enjoying like classic Hammerden as well lately. Holy Aura still is busted to where you can stack Holy Auras right now. So if you have 2 people with inverse Holy Auras, you get the effect of both of them simultaneously in multiplayer. So that's a really fun 2-player spec to go, where you just like each take half the tree and you get the whole tree. That's a fun 2-player build to go with. There's even with the multiplayer, I'm gonna call them what they are, nerfs to poison, which, let's be real here, were necessary because of the way poison works. It was so unbelievably broken. It's still unbelievably strong. Like 4-player poison is still crazy strong. Like, I still think it's way too strong. So good. And to be clear, what we did didn't really affect single player almost at all. Yeah, it's good. And it's very much up for change still, because that's gonna be something that changes a bunch, I think, both ways, because it's a popular playstyle, it's a powerful playstyle, it's a fun playstyle, but it needs to be in line.
Not happening.
I still think it's the most powerful thing in multiplayer, even after getting hit with the nerf pad pretty hard, which is funny. Alright, next question. Out of interest, what are some examples of design changes that are commonly called quality of life changes? Great question. The one that comes to mind most frequently, and I'm going to use a PoE example here, is or even like Diablo 2 example here. You can use, it's the same in both of them really. I think it's actually a better case for it in PoE though. Is the scroll of identity scrolls. Having items drop identified is a very significant design change that has pretty far-reaching implications. It is not strictly a quality of life change, which very frequently gets posed as a quality of life problem. And I want to be clear as well that I'm not saying that this is that it should stay or change at all, but I'm just saying that the discussion should be a game design discussion rather than a quality of life discussion. Yeah, that one still loads. Yeah, that's the live version. Of course, it still loads in early. There's bugs that happen every once in a while. So there's a bug that just happened there where the arena started before I was in it. Like before I had started, the arena started when I started loading instead of when I'd finished loading, which isn't a problem anymore. And it surprised me and caught me off guard. I was like, oh, it's still a problem. I thought we fixed that, but we did, and this is just the live version. It only happens in this arena. Just curious if you would do anything to it, as I recall you were not in favor. Oh, wait, what? What's the it? Are we going to see any of the Eterra goddess in the future for the campaign, like during her timeline? I think there's a lot of things we can do still that are hidden, and I don't want to go into too much detail as to future plans storyline-wise of major characters that have not been represented yet in the game. It's a long-winded way of saying I don't know. Vorador, I feel like there's like a two-part question and I missed the first part. Oh, it was the auto-casting numlock thing. Just curious if you would do anything about it because you're not in favor of it. Okay, this is auto-casting. With regards to the auto-casting thing, personally, I don't like using the auto-casting myself. I think it takes a lot out of the game, personally, and I don't use it myself. But I have no intention of removing it from the game. I'd like to attempt to reduce. So, like, I think the problem with numlock autocasting comes from, and I don't preface this by saying I don't want people who do this to stop doing it, but I think the problem happens when a build guide, like a video build guide, says for this build you're going to use numlock autocast trick, and that you have to do it for this build. And to be clear, everyone who makes those guides and has those things in it, I'm not saying stop doing that, because if that's how the build works, go ahead, do what you're going to do. But I'm saying the way we designed the game that makes it so that that's the right thing to say is the problem. So it's our mistake. To be clear. Rossoside asks, hey Mike, will we ever see quivers as 3 malls on the characters? Gosh, I hope so. Not right now though. From the top of your head, off the top of your head, what things do you personally have in mind to shift power onto gear, make T7 flat damage 300 plus? No, I mean, so the example that I brought up before, which you've probably heard, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use it again. and I don't know if this is for sure what's going to happen, but I think personally it's the best option that I've heard so far. Right now, for example, detonating arrows scales 4% increased damage per point of dexterity. If we change that to say 1% if we change that to say 1% more damage per point of dexterity, it causes multiplicative scaling where like dexterity becomes very valuable and the primary source of dexterity is on your gear. So that pushes that damage scaling onto your gear more. Now, maybe it's putting other inherent scalings in nodes as well. Maybe it's putting things in a node that says, like, okay, here's an example. So you deal increased damage to the next damaging non-channel skill after shifting. But maybe this instead says it's I don't know, 1% increased damage per crit chance, or per dodge chance, or per, like something that scales off another stat that those are bad examples actually, I just realized. But maybe it's something that scales off of something you get primarily from gear. Or maybe it specifically looks at a gear slot. So there's certain abilities that like in Forge Guard that look at specific gear slots. So maybe this is like you get increased damage equal to the increased move speed from your boots. That's cool, right? And suddenly that damage, it scales as you get better gear. So you put the point in, and that point initially gives you a certain amount. At like level 10, you only have 10% increased movement on your boots. Great, it's 10% increased damage per point. And then by level 100, maybe you've got 50% increased damage, increased movement speed on your boots, which is also now 50% increased damage. So this node scales with your boots as well, with your gear as well. And so things like that to get the scaling of the damage to go through your gear and be dependent on your gear, I think is important. Just so that I think that's the way we do it. And it's still up in the air. It's still being decided on. It's still being worked on. But that's what I think was a front runner style. And I really want to be clear, this is style, not specific examples. Something PoE did lately was take over hosting a PoE wiki. Any chance you guys would consider hosting an official wiki? It's a nice quality of life not to have ads everywhere and looking up game info. Yeah, ads suck. I agree. It's really helpful for people who are running these sites and put a ton of work into these sites. And it can be someone's job sometimes, especially people who are running like solo running a site or something like that. I think it's yeah, it's really important for some people. And I think there's different types of ads too. Like some ads are so intrusive. Like there's sometimes you go to, if you ever look up like a recipe on a recipe website, you like I take screenshots sometimes just to be like, my screen is 4% information and 96% advertisements, and you go, come on guys. Like I'll look at some ads, but like give me enough room to see the content too, please. So there's responsible ways to do ads, I think, and whatever. Anyways, point is, rant over. I don't think we have any plans to take over the wiki at the moment. I'd like to have an official website. Like I still use Ariat Summit for D2 info. There are a few like unbelievably well done Last Epoch third-party websites already that like I look at them and go, it'd be so much work to even make something as good as that. Like I don't want to do it. I'd rather like try and do something to support those people instead would be the way I'd look at it personally. But then you get into this weird thing of like, does that put pressure on them to not do other stuff? And it's a whole thing. So we've talked about it. It's hard to decide what you want to do there. I have one more thing to share actually, and I've just forgot about it. I thought I only had 4. I have 5. So here's one more. Right at the buzzer. This is an example of a lich doing some necrotic dot damage stoof. Some death effects for some little enemies there. Did I leave a bunch of questions on the table? Oh my goodness, I got through the questions! Oh. Yeah, Last Epoch Tools, fantastic website. I put some there's like links on our Reddit sidebar for some of the tools. There's a couple that are really good. Tongue Cloud's really good. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I'm sorry, Lizard. Time's up. I can't answer that question. What is Whispering Key? I saw a photo of it months ago on Reddit. Great question. I actually don't know the answer to it. But I can say this, I don't think it was photoshopped. Oh, someone highlighted a message. Thank you. Great to have on streams. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Appreciate that. That'll do it for me today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Thank you very much for coming. If I didn't answer a question that you'd like answered, or you think of something later, please head on over to our Discord, Reddit, Facebook. Not Facebook, I don't go there. Discord, Reddit, forums. Yeah, that was an F word. Forums. Lots of great people on all those platforms answering questions all the time. I will be back again, same time, same place next week. Hope to see some of you there.